Hello, my name's Ed Morrow. I go to Holborn Gospel Hall in Aberdeen, and today I'd like to bring you a message about love. We'll read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which is one of the most famous passages on love, but we'll also refer to other passages, and some a number of times, so if you can stick your thumb in them when we get to them. It's been a very good study for me, and I trust it will be value to all of us. We'll start by reading 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I also am known. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. And God will bless the reading of his word. Verse 1 speaks about the tongues of men. To me, this obviously means languages. We can think of Pentecost, where the apostles spoke in everyone's own language so that they could hear in their own language. But it's clear from verse 8 that these will fail. Both the gift of supernaturally speaking other languages, but also other languages when we get to heaven. There won't be different languages, I believe, once we get to heaven. We will all be speaking the same language. And it speaks of the language of angels. I think this is hyperbole. There is no evidence from the scriptures that angels speak their own language. Why did they want to speak in tongues? In verse 14, we can read what it says. Chapter 14, we can read what it says. They were speaking and no one could understand them. Chapter 14, verses 2 to 4 says, For he who speaks in a tongue does not speak to men but to God, for no one understands him. However, in the Spirit he speaks mysteries. But he who prophesies speaks edification and exhortation and comfort to men. He who speaks in a tongue edifies himself, but he who prophesies edifies the church. It was all about their own aggrandizement. They were used to pagan rites with chanting, high-pitched noises, cymbals, all just to draw attention, but they didn't bring any benefit. There was no language in them, there's no teaching in them, there's no understanding in them. It was all for the outward appearance. It was all to just bring noise and bring people to hear them. Verse 2 also tells us that prophecy and understanding. The Bible is complete. How often have we heard of modern prophecies, some professing to be Christian, make predictions that fail? I remember at the year 2000, a lot of people thought that this was the coming of the Lord, that 2000 was a significant year, that the millennial would be something different, but they were wrong. We can't predict. The Bible is complete and gives us what we need. I also worked with a Mormon, and he would tell me that each time the prophet in charge of the Mormons would make these things. And I said, well, how often do they come true? Well, that's not important. It's around the fact that he's making. Again, this is all about self-serving and attention-seeking. This isn't love for your fellow Christians. This was just about being able to stand up at the front and people to think you were important. Verse 2 also speaks about knowledge. There's nothing wrong with knowledge, but it's what's the purpose of that knowledge? What do we want knowledge for? Being clever for cleverness' sake? Our knowledge should always be used to benefit others. The world is full of clever people who use their knowledge to challenge and perform, but without Christ they are still lost. John Lennox is a great example of a very clever Christian who uses his knowledge to defend Christianity, and to challenge the lost. It's about using our knowledge and our abilities to bring other people to God. That's true love, showing other people God. Verse 2 also speaks about faith. And James chapter 2, give you time to look it up, but James chapter 2 verse 14 to 24 would tell us something different. It says, "What does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Depart in peace, be warmed and filled,' but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, 'You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works.'" Our faith in God should be demonstrated in what we do. We should always be looking to do things for God. It shouldn't just be about sitting in a corner. You think of the monks and the hermits that used to just go away, but they didn't show love. They didn't show value to anyone. They didn't encourage anyone else. Verse 3 also speaks about giving. "And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned but have not love, it profits me nothing." It's good to give, and we should be known for our giving. The Bible is clear. Jesus speaks often about giving. But it isn't the first time, and it isn't the first time I've ever spoken on this passage, but one of my favourite passages in the Bible is Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 to 46. Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 to 46. 31. "When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand and the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, 'Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will answer to him, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did you see you sick or in prison and come to you?' And the king will answer and say to them, 'Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of my brethren, you did it to me.' Then he will say to those on the left hand, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me.' Then they also will answer him, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?' Then he will answer them, saying, 'Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me.'" And the Bible is very clear that our faith has to be demonstrated through the works that we do. As with knowledge without faith and purpose, there's no benefit. It makes people feel good, but ultimately for a short period. Even those that give with no purpose. We think of Bill Gates and the Microsoft Foundation. People of wealth, for many reasons, like to give something back, but they're still lost and are not fulfilling God's purpose. Building a foundation and putting your money in it and having people organise it isn't a personal decision about giving. It becomes another business. It becomes just something else that can be done. If we look at Mark chapter 12, we speak about the widow's mite. Now Jesus sat opposite the treasury and saw how the people put money into the treasury. And many who were rich put in much. But one poor widow came and threw in 2 mites, which make up a quadrans. So he called his disciples to himself and said to them, "Assuredly I say to you, that this poor widow has put in more than all those who have given to the treasury. For they put in out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty put in all that she had, her whole livelihood." Many rich people give away part of their thing, but this widow gave away everything they had. Verse 3 also speaks about the body to be burned, self-sacrifice. Matthew chapter 6, now we will refer to Matthew chapter 6 a number of times, so if you look up Matthew chapter 6 and stick your thumb in it. Matthew chapter 6 verse 16 says, "Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to be men to be fasting. Assuredly I say to you, they have their own reward." We need to do things for the right reasons. Those that fasted, like the Pharisees, were hypocrites because they wanted people to think that they were being pious. They weren't doing it for the purpose that it was intended. If we're doing things for God, we shouldn't be grumpy about it. We shouldn't feel that we're doing so much and others are doing nothing. No one sees how much we do. Well, God does. God sees exactly how much we do. We shouldn't be worried about how much other people see. We're not doing it for each other. We're doing it for God. So how do we connect this with the conduct of the church? Matthew chapter 22 would tell us the greatest commandment. Matthew chapter 22, verses 34. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. But one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him and saying, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbour as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." John chapter 13 verses 34-38 would also tell us, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another." And Matthew chapter 5 would tell us to love our enemies. "You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbour and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. But for if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do this? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect." So we shouldn't just love each other. We shouldn't just demonstrate our love to one another. We need to love our enemies. We need to greet everyone. We need to encourage everyone and show love. Verse 4 tells us that love suffers long. Difficult for many of us, myself included. It's easy to be short-tempered. It's easy to lose our rag quickly, but Matthew chapter 18, verses 21-22 says, "Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times. Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. How often do we get upset with people very quickly, and yet Jesus would tell us to forgive them 70 times 7, which is effectively infinity. Verse 4 tells us that we should be kind. We shouldn't think the worst of people. We should trust people until they prove otherwise. And if you hear something bad from somebody else, give them the benefit of the doubt. Make your own decisions. Don't listen to other people. We should also not envy. We shouldn't be upset that we have less possessions than other people, that we have less abilities than other people, that we have less gifts than other people, that we have less position than other people. God has given us what we have. Everything we have is for us. I always speak about the fact that I don't think that God gave me my skills and my gifts that I have just for secular work. We should be using them for other things. But I know I'm not as good as other people at some things, and yet I shouldn't envy them, because God has given me my role and my position and what we should be doing. We shouldn't parade ourselves. Love shouldn't parade. Verse 4, Love suffers long and kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 to 7. Again, I said stick your thumb into Matthew chapter 6. Verses 1 to 7. Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them, otherwise you have no reward from the Father in heaven. Therefore, when you do your charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners of the streets, that they may be seen by men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you pray, go into your room, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And when you pray, do not use vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they will be heard for their many words. So we don't parade ourselves. We don't parade around our giving. We don't parade around our service and our prayers. Luke chapter 9. Verses 46 onwards. Then a dispute arose among them as to which of them would be greatest. Jesus, perceiving the thought in their heart, took a little child and set him by him, and said to them, Whoever receives this little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For he who is least among you will all be great. Again, it's around not putting ourselves first. And then Matthew chapter 20. Verses 20 to 28. Then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to him with her sons, kneeling down and asking something from him. And he said to her, What do you wish? She said to him, Grant that these 2 sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom. But Jesus answered and said, You do not know what you ask. Are you able to drink the cup that I am about to drink, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said to him, We are able. So he said to them, You will indeed drink my cup and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with you. But to sit on my right hand and my left is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it is prepared by my Father. Then the 10 heard it. They were greatly displeased with the 2 brothers. But Jesus called them to himself and said, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who are great exercise authority over them. Yet shall it not be so among you. But whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. Christ is the great example of service. He didn't parade himself. We shouldn't be puffed up either. James chapter 2, verses 1 to 9. Would tell us that we shouldn't be puffed up. My brethren, do not hold the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of God, with partiality. For if there should come into your assembly a man with gold rings and fine apparel, and there should also come in a poor man in filthy clothes, and you pay attention to the one bearing the fine clothes, and say to him, You sit here in a good place, and say to the pure man, You stand there, or sit here at my footstool, have you not shown partiality among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brethren, has God not chosen the poor of this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which he promised to those who love him? But you have dishonoured the poor man. Do not the rich oppress you and drag you into the courts? Do they not blaspheme that noble name by which they are called? If you really fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbour as yourself, you do well. But if you show partiality, you commit sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. It shouldn't be about the people that shout loudest. It shouldn't be about the people that have the highest position. It shouldn't be about the people with the most money. It should be about bringing everyone in. It's difficult when we see people who are not like us. It's difficult when we see poor people who have nothing and to invite them in. But God says that the poor will come in. And we have the example of Jesus, who went after not the rich and the powerful, but actually the oppressed and the least of society. We shouldn't behave rudely when we work together. We should have a thick skin. We shouldn't be concerned that people might be speaking behind our backs. And we should have younger people and older people working together. We should be nice to each other. We should speak properly to each other and not be abusive. Verse 5 also says that love does not seek its own. As a member of the oversight for Holborn, I need to be careful. We need to look to the assembly to look after their spiritual matters. Our job is to guide and to seek good teaching and to make sure that the flock are fed. In practical matters, we should be working with the assembly and not making decisions on our own. Philippians chapter 2 verses 1 to 4 tells us, therefore, as there is any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by being like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. When we're doing things, we should be doing them for the assembly, for the encouragement of all in the assembly, and for all the unsaved that we come into contact with us. Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 to 17, would tell us, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave you, so you also must do. But above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfection, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of God dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in the hearts to the Lord. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. As I said earlier, all that we do is to be done for God, not for each other. Verse 5 says that love is not provoked. Again, in Matthew chapter 5. It tells us in 38 to 42 that we should turn the other cheek. You have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I tell you not to resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. We shouldn't be a doormat though. We shouldn't then just allow people to walk all over us. We should stand up for what's wrong. We should quote the scriptures. But we should also think, in 6 months' time, will it have really mattered? Is it that important? It's a real challenge for me. It's about doing it right. I do a lot of mentoring, and it's around, well, what's the end result? And often we try and think that we want people to be exactly like us. But in the end, everyone isn't. Everyone is different. And what it is around is giving guidance and help, but allowing people to do things in their own way. If it's not really important, let it go. Again in Colossians chapter 3, verses 18 to 24, there are rules for our household. Wives, submit to your own husbands as is fitting the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter toward them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing to the Lord. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged. Bondservants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in sincerity of heart, fearing God. And whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of their inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. But he who has done wrong will be repaid for what he has done, and there is no partiality. That's rules for home and for work and for church. We need to follow those. At work, we should be seen as the example. We be seen as the hardest working, and we should be seen to be honest and trustworthy. Hebrews chapter 10 would tell us, and let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as we see the day approaching. We should encourage one another. We should be lifting one another up, not pulling one another down. Verse 5 tells us that love thinks no evil. It's easy to look for offence, the wrong tone, the wrong words, the wrong timing, the wrong comment. I work with lots of different nationalities, and when I first started working with Norway, we would get emails from Norway, and it said, I need you to do this. There was no, how are you, everything like that, tailored around how we would do UK emails. It was just very, very pragmatic. Here it is, this is what you need to do, and this is when I need it done. And it's not that they're trying to offend you, and it's not that they're trying to bully you or direct you. It's just a different way of working. And I've always said, if I say something and there's two ways to take it and one of them upsets you, I meant the other one. We shouldn't be looking for evil. We shouldn't be looking for challenges. We shouldn't rejoice in iniquity. Gossip is destructive even if it's true. Age, when you're younger, you see faults, and you're happy to see faults in others. As I get older, I'm much more aware of my own faults and my own limitations. And I work with my work through many different things, but one of the things I do work in is working in prisons. And actually, there but for the grace of God go I. It's not in our own strength that where we are. I often say to people, there's many things that I've done in my life that means I could have ended up in a very different path. But fortunately, God has had the grace to allow me to continue in the path that we've had. Verse 6, love rejoices in the truth. It's about having a quiet word. We can think of Barnabas and how he was taken aside for a quiet word. There shouldn't be public condemnation. And we should be studying the Bible in the quiet ourselves, personal, but we should also study it collectively together. And we should hold the word of truth with us. Verse 7 says it bears all things. Stoic. We will all go through trials. Illness, trouble at work, trouble in the family. Many will suffer for their faith. We are very fortunate in the UK that we suffer very little for our faith. But there are challenges coming. There's challenges in work. Being a Christian in a modern workplace with Pride and Ida Hobbit and all sorts of different things, having to make comment on some of these things. There'll be challenges with others, but not always with non-Christians. Even amongst ourselves there will be challenges. But we need to be very careful. We don't know what's in the background. We don't know what other people are going through. And we need to be aware of what we do and what we say and what we assume and how it could impact others. Verse 7 says it believes all, hopes all, endures all. It's back to what we said about verse 4 and being kind. Always assume the best until proved otherwise and give the benefit of the doubt. But even if the worst is proved, hope for restoration and trust in God to bring us through difficulties. And then from verse 8 to the end, we hear that love never fails. It tells us clearly that all the other gifts will pass away, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail, whether there are tongues, they will cease, whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. But love never fails. What they were seeking, attention, personal glory, beauty, if you ever had it, or riches, or your mental faculties, if you're clever, they will all fail at some point. We look forward to an eternity in heaven. What we have now in part will be perfect. We were children before salvation, but we put away childish things, but in heaven we will be complete. Whilst we see now as in a mirror dimly, we will see face to face. What we know now in part, we will fully know. God has given us clear instructions. There are many facets to love, but his greatest is that we love him and that we love one another. And we should collectively be ready to reach out to others with the same love that God has given us. May God bless you all, and thank you for listening.